Last night on Fox News, a fiery clash erupted as comedian Bill Burr unleashed a scathing attack on Elon Musk, calling him a hot topic nerd and Trump's puppet, only to be met with a fierce rebuttal from 27-year-old White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button for more explosive stories like this. The studio lights burned hot as Fox News host Laura Ingraham introduced her guests for what was billed as a no-holds-barred debate. The tension was palpable from the moment Bill Burr, the sharp-tongued comedian known for his unfiltered rants, swaggered onto the set, his smirk barely concealing his disdain. Across from him sat Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in history, her poised demeanor masking a steely resolve. The audience, a mix of MAGA loyalists and curious onlookers, buzzed with anticipation, sensing a confrontation that would ignite the airwaves. Ingraham wasted no time diving straight into the heart of the controversy. Elon Musk's growing influence in the Trump administration, particularly his role in the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Burr leaned forward, his voice dripping with sarcasm as he launched his opening salvo. "Let's talk about your boy Elon, Karoline. The guy looks like he just stumbled out of a Hot Topic clearance sale, trying to cosplay as a tech messiah. What's with this Doge nonsense? Is he running a government agency or a crypto scam?" The audience gasped, some chuckling nervously, as Burr's words cut through the studio like a blade. He didn't stop there, his tone growing sharper. "Musk's out here playing puppet master with Trump, and you're just another string he's pulling. You, Trump, Elon, it's a disaster trifecta. Heartless, horrible, and completely out of touch with real Americans." Leavitt's expression didn't flicker, but her eyes locked onto Burr with laser focus. She adjusted her posture, her voice calm yet commanding as she responded. "Bill, I'm here representing the American people, not your comedy routine. You're wrong about Elon, and you're wrong about President Trump. DOGE is about cutting waste, streamlining government, and delivering results for taxpayers. Elon's businesses have created jobs and driven innovation, something you might not understand from a Netflix special." The MAGA supporters erupted in cheers, their applause drowning out Burr's attempt to interject. Leavitt pressed on, her words measured but pointed. "You call us puppets, but you're the one parroting tired Hollywood talking points. Maybe try talking to the workers at Tesla or SpaceX before you throw stones." Burr's face reddened, his smirk fading as he scrambled to regain control. "Oh, come on, Karoline. Don't give me that corporate brochure spiel. Musk's a nerd with a god complex, and Trump's just riding his coattails to stay relevant. You're 27. What do you even know about running a country?" The jab was personal, and the audience sensed it, their murmurs growing louder. Ingraham tried to steer the conversation, but the animosity between the two was unstoppable, like a runaway train. Leavitt leaned forward, her voice now carrying an edge. "Age doesn't determine competence, Bill. I'm here because I earned it, and I speak for a movement that's bigger than your ego. You want to talk relevance? Let's talk about your last special bombing while we're winning elections." The crowd roared, the energy in the studio electric as Leavitt's retort landed like a punch. Burr's jaw tightened, his fingers drumming on the desk, clearly rattled by her confidence. Ingraham, sensing the escalating drama, leaned in, her voice sharp. "Bill, you've thrown some heavy accusations. Do you have anything to back them up, or is this just another stand-up bit?" Burr smirked, but it was forced, his eyes darting to Leavitt, who sat unflinching, ready for his next move. He leaned back, his voice louder now, almost shouting. "Back it up? Look at Musk's track record. He's dodging taxes, exploiting workers, and now he's got his claws in the White House. You're telling me that's not a problem?" Leavitt didn't blink, her response swift and cutting. "You're throwing around buzzwords, Bill, but where's the evidence? Elon's companies are audited, transparent, and creating American jobs. You're just mad because he's doing more for this. country than your rants ever will." The audience exploded again, the MAGA contingent chanting her name, while Burr's composure began to crack, his hands gesturing wildly. The studio was a powder keg, and the debate was only just beginning, with both sides digging in for a fight that promised to shake the political landscape. Leavitt's words hung in the air, sharp and unyielding, as the MAGA chants of "Karoline, Karoline" reverberated through the Fox News studio. Bill Burr's hands flailed, his face a mix of frustration and defiance, as he tried to claw back control. The audience's fervor only fueled the tension, and Laura Ingram's attempt to moderate felt like a whisper against a storm. Burr leaned forward, his voice rising to a near shout, desperate to reclaim the narrative. "Evidence? You want evidence, Karoline? How about Musk's factories getting slapped with labor violations, or his X platform turning into a cesspool of bots and propaganda? You're out here defending a guy who'd sell his own kids for a Mars colony." The crowd booed, the MAGA supporters hissing at Burr's audacity, but he barreled on, undeterred. "And let's not kid ourselves, you're not some voice of the people. You're a mouthpiece for Trump's circus, and Elon's the ringmaster. You think those jobs at Tesla are some American dream? They're sweatshop gigs dressed up with a shiny logo." His words were venomous, each syllable aimed to provoke, and the studio felt like it might combust. Leavitt's composure held, but her eyes narrowed, a flicker of anger breaking through her polished exterior. She adjusted her microphone, her voice steady but laced with a biting edge. "Bill, you're tossing out half-truths like they're punchlines. Tesla's labor practices are scrutinized, and they've addressed every claim. X is a platform for free speech, something you'd appreciate if you weren't so busy pandering to woke gatekeepers." The audience erupted, the MAGA faithful leaping to their feet, their cheers drowning out Burr's scoff. Leavitt pressed her advantage, her tone growing bolder. "You call me a mouthpiece? I'm here fighting for Americans who are tired of comedians like you lecturing them from ivory towers. You don't get to rewrite reality because it doesn't fit your set list." The jab landed hard, and Burr's smirk vanished, replaced by a scowl. He slammed his hand on the desk, the sound cutting through the noise. "Don't lecture me about reality, kid. I've been calling out phonies like Trump and Musk for years. You're just the latest shiny toy they're trotting out to distract from their mess. Doge? It's a joke, and you're the punchline." Ingram tried to interject, her voice sharp. "Bill, let's keep this civil. Karoline, respond." But the civility was long gone. Leavitt leaned forward, her gaze locked on Burr, unflinching. "You want to talk jokes? Your career's been coasting on shock value since Obama was in office. Doge is cutting billions in waste, saving taxpayer money, and you're out here whining because it's not your brand of chaos." The crowd roared, the energy seismic, as Burr's face twitched, his frustration boiling over. He pointed at Leavitt, his voice cracking with intensity. "You're dodging the real issue. Musk and Trump are turning this country into their personal playground, and you're cheering them on like some cheerleader who didn't read the playbook." The personal dig stung, and Leavitt's jaw tightened, but she didn't falter. "I read the playbook, Bill, and it's called results. While you're ranting, we're rebuilding an economy, securing borders, and making government work for the people. You're just mad because your shtick's not selling anymore." The MAGA supporters were on their feet again, their applause thunderous, as Burr's hands clenched into fists. Ingram, sensing the escalating chaos, tried to pivot. "Let's talk policy specifics. Bill, what's your alternative to Doge?" But Burr wasn't interested in policy. He leaned back, his voice dripping with contempt. "Alternative? How about not letting billionaires like Musk run the show? You're out here acting like he's saving America, but he's just saving his own wallet." Leavitt's response was immediate, her voice rising with conviction. "You're obsessed with tearing down success, Bill. Elon's risking his fortune to innovate, while you're risking nothing but your Netflix deal. Who's really serving America? The audience's cheers were deafening, and Burr's eyes darted to the crowd, his confidence fraying. He opened his mouth to retort, but the words caught, and the studio's electric atmosphere tightened, ready to snap. The Fox News studio pulsed with raw energy, the audience's cheers for Karoline Leavitt echoing like a battle cry. Bill Burr's hesitation was brief but noticeable, his eyes flickering with a mix of fury and unease as he struggled to regain his footing. The MAGA supporters' fervor seemed to choke the air, and Laura Ingram's attempts to steer the debate felt futile. Against the rising tide of confrontation, Burr finally found his voice, leaning forward with a snarl, his words laced with venom. "Serving America, Karoline? You're serving Trump's ego and Musk's bank account. You think Elon's some hero? He's a glorified car salesman who's got you and half this country hypnotized with his sci-fi nonsense." The crowd booed, their disapproval a wall of sound, but Burr doubled down, his voice rising to match their intensity. "You're out here preaching about innovation, but what's innovative about dodging accountability? Musk's got lawsuits piling up, workers complaining, and you're acting like he's the second coming. You're not a press secretary, you're a hype woman for a con." The personal attack sent a ripple through the studio, the audience's murmurs growing sharper. Leavitt's face remained composed, but her eyes blazed, a storm brewing beneath. Her calm. She leaned into the microphone, her voice cutting through the chaos with surgical precision. "Bill, you're not exposing a con, you're creating one. Elon's companies are under more scrutiny than your comedy specials, and they still deliver. You want to talk accountability? Where's yours for spreading lies to millions?" The MAGA supporters roared, their applause shaking the studio as Leavitt's words hit their mark. Burr's face twisted, his hands gripping the desk as he fought to keep his cool. "Lies? You're the one selling fairy tales about Trump and Musk saving the world. Doge is just a fancy name for gutting services real people need. You're 27. Karoline, you don't get what regular folks are dealing with." The age jab landed again, and the audience sensed blood in the water, their reactions a mix of gasps and jeers. Ingram tried to intervene, her tone sharp. "Bill, stick to the issues. Karoline, your response?" But Leavitt was already in motion, her voice rising with a fierce conviction that silenced the room. "I know exactly what Americans need, Bill, because I listen to them, not lecture them. Doge is about efficiency, not cuts. It's about giving taxpayers their money's worth, something you wouldn't understand since you're busy cashing checks from coastal elites." The crowd exploded, the MAGA contingent chanting her name again, their energy a tidal wave. Burr's composure cracked further, his voice trembling with rage as he shot back. "Coastal elites? That's rich coming from someone shilling for a billionaire who tweets memes all day. Musk's not your savior, he's your boss, and you're just following orders like a good little soldier." The insult was a low blow, and Leavitt's jaw tightened, her fingers curling slightly on the desk. She didn't flinch, though, her response immediate and blistering. "I don't take orders from Elon, Bill. I answer to the American people and a president who's delivering results. You're the one following a script, recycling the same tired outrage for clout. Maybe try creating something instead of just complaining." The audience's cheers were deafening, the studio vibrating with their intensity, as Burr's eyes widened, his frustration boiling over. He slammed his fist on the desk, the sound sharp and jarring. "Creating? You think Musk's creating a better world? He's creating a dystopia, and you're too naive to see it. You're in over your head, kid." The personal digs were relentless now, and Ingram's voice cut in, strained. "Bill, enough with the attacks. Let's talk solutions." But Burr ignored her, his gaze locked on Leavitt, who met it with unflinching resolve. "I'm not naive, Bill," she said, her voice steady but laced with fire. "I'm fighting for a future where Americans win, not your cynical version where everyone's a victim. You're not exposing truth, you're just yelling into a void. The crowd's reaction was seismic, their support for Leavitt overwhelming, and Burr's face flushed, his hands shaking as he struggled to respond. The studio was a pressure cooker, the tension so thick it felt like the walls might crack, and the clash was far from over. The Fox News studio was a cauldron of noise, the MAGA supporters' cheers for Karoline Leavitt drowning out all else, their voices a relentless wave crashing against Bill Burr's crumbling defenses. His face was a mask of barely contained rage, his hands trembling as he gripped the desk, searching for a comeback that could salvage his unraveling performance. The air was thick with hostility, and Laura Ingram's attempts to regain control were swept away in the chaos. Burr's eyes darted to Leavitt, who sat poised, her gaze unyielding, a beacon of confidence amidst the storm. He leaned forward, his voice hoarse but defiant, determined to land one final blow. "You think you're some patriot, Karoline? You're just a prop in Trump's reality show, and Musk's writing the script. You're selling out America to a guy who'd rather colonize Mars than fix Main Street." The crowd jeered, their boos a wall of sound, but Burr's words carried a desperate edge, a last-ditch effort to sway the room. "You're blind to the damage they're doing. Doge isn't efficiency, it's a wrecking ball, and you're cheering as it swings." The accusation hung heavy, and the audience's murmurs grew tense, waiting for Leavitt's response. She didn't hesitate, her voice rising with a clarity that cut through the noise like a blade. "Bill, you're not calling out damage, you're creating it. You twist facts to fit your narrative, but Americans see through it. Doge is rebuilding a government that works for them, not against them. You're not fighting for Main Street, you're just shouting from a stage." The MAGA supporters erupted, their applause thunderous, shaking the studio as Leavitt's words landed with devastating precision. Burr's face twisted, his frustration spilling over as he jabbed a finger at her. "You're delusional. Musk and Trump are playing you, and you're too green to see it. You're not a hero, you're a pawn." The personal attack was vicious, and Ingram's voice snapped through the chaos. "Bill, that's enough. Keep it on policy." But Leavitt was already responding, her tone fierce, her eyes locked on Burr. "I'm nobody's pawn, Bill. I'm a voice for millions who are tired of cynics like you tearing down their hope. You call me green? I'm seasoned by a movement. That's winning! While you're stuck in a losing act." The crowd's roar was deafening, the energy seismic, as Burr's composure shattered. His hands flew up, his voice cracking with fury. "Winning? You're winning a race to the bottom. Musk's a fraud, Trump's a has-been, and you're their cheerleader. I'm done with this circus." He shoved his chair back, the screech of metal piercing the air, and stormed toward the exit, ripping off his mic. The audience gasped, then exploded into cheers for Leavitt, their chants of "Karoline" echoing as Burr's figure vanished off stage. Ingram, visibly stunned, tried to regain control. "Well, that was unexpected. Karoline, final thoughts?" Leavitt adjusted her posture, her voice calm but triumphant. "Bill can walk away, but the truth doesn't. We're building a stronger America, with President Trump and innovators like Elon leading the way. I'm proud to stand with them and with the American people." The crowd leapt to their feet, their ovation a tidal wave, as Leavitt's words sealed her victory. Ingram wrapped the segment, her voice strained but professional. "Thank you, Karoline, for an unforgettable night. We'll be right back." As the cameras panned out, Leavitt's poised silhouette stood against the roaring crowd, a symbol of a new era. The studio lights dimmed, but the energy lingered, a testament to a clash that had reshaped the narrative. Leavitt had faced Burr's fire and emerged not just unscathed, but ascendant, her name now a rallying cry for a movement. Burr's exit, a tantrum of defeat, marked the end of his stand, while Leavitt's triumph signaled a shift in the political tide, where youth, conviction, and media savvy had outshone cynicism. The confrontation was over, its echoes destined to ripple through the airwaves, a victory sealed in the heat of the Fox News stage.